They had stopped at the A-frame house because Connor had been insistent, telling them that they needed to find help.
It's 10 miles to Joppa. These people could still be looking for us, and time is not on our side. If we can get a ride, all the better.
Maya had insisted that they walk, but Jack and Lena were already insisting that their feet were sore and a ride would be best if they wanted to be able to walk tomorrow. They had found the A-frame by the side of the road. The porch, a shadowy mass as the structure sat against the wash of trees, like a stage fit for ghosts. They came up slowly, not a light to be seen, and as they approached, Maya stopped dead in her tracks.
Maya,
Jack whispered, falling back a little.
Maya, what's wrong?
There's someone on the porch.
They hadn't caught it with their eyes, which were so used to light, but Maya was a creature of the dark. She had seen them there, sitting in a little chair as they watched the four come slowly forward. They weren't rocking. They didn't seem to have a care in the world, and Maya was pretty sure they were dead even before she saw them slumped there. There was a broken coffee cup near their feet, the liquid drank long ago by the thirsty concrete.
They're dead,
Maya said, taking her hand off her knife.
Are you sure?
Connor said, reaching out with the tip of his fire poker before Maya batted it aside and pushed the shoulder of the dead person. It was an elderly woman. Her skin was still spongy. Maya could feel the cold radiating off of her, but she couldn't have been dead that long. Her skin, despite being old and wrinkled, wasn't bloated or rotten at all. It was like her heart had simply stopped as she enjoyed an evening on the porch. Was she stargazing? Was she watching night birds? Who could say? It didn't stop her from dying. Maya looked over when Connor opened the door to the house, Jack coming in behind him.
Should we really be breaking in?
Lena asked, looking tentatively around the door jamb.
It's not breaking in.
Connor said, trying the switch but finding the power out.
The door's already open. This is the second house of dead people that we found, and I'm getting hungry.
And what if it's the food that's killing them?
Maya said as she came in behind them, seeing someone on the couch who was a little too snugly under a comforter.
Then I guess I'll die full. And honestly, if that means that I have to walk all the way to Joppa, then I'll consider it a win.
By the light of the lantern, they had all sat around the little table as Connor rifled through the fridge. Luckily, the A-frame had a gas stove, so after some coaxing, Connor got it to light and managed to dig up a skillet from somewhere. He took some eggs and cheese out of the fridge, thought about it, and added some bacon as well.
It's probably rotten if the power's been off for a while,
Jack said, looking at the little stack of food that his friend had dug out. Connor looked at the packaging, and when he tossed it to Jack, Maya expected it to be slimy. Instead, as she leaned closer to the lantern, she saw that the bacon was still pristine. It was thawed, but it was perfectly preserved as well. It was like something that could have been bought from the store that same day, and that seemed strange. Jack opened it up and took a smell, wrinkling his nose, but not in disgust.
It smells weird,
he said as he shook his head.
Weird bad?
Connor asked, slapping his hands together so Jack could toss it back.
No.
Jack said, wrinkling his nose again.
Weird. It doesn't smell like anything but bacon. Just bacon.
His inability to express himself was making him angry. Maya could tell. Jack was used to being able to articulate himself, to make himself understood, and whatever was going on here was as alien as that lukewarm bacon. Jack went to toss it back, but Maya reached for it, her eye caught by something in the lower left corner.
Whoa, Connor, this bacon is way expired.
What do you mean? It had to have been bought today or it would have been rotten.
Yeah, well, unless we've gone back in time, then it's gotta be bad. The label says it's from April 17th, 2016.
Connor took the bacon and looked at the package, not believing it. His eyebrows went up, but when he shrugged and dumped it into the pan with the eggs, Maya shuddered.
I guess we'll see what happens.
As the food sizzled in the pan, Maya glanced at the calendar next to the fridge. It should have caught her eye before now, but she had been distracted by the sheer strangeness of this whole situation. The picture was of a garden. The tulips coming in and the sun casting an arc of silvery light onto the yellow and red cups of the flowers. Someone had been marking the days, but it appeared that they had stopped on the 19th. It was set to April, but it was the date that made her get up for a closer look. In the light of her flashlight, she read the date, 2016.
What is it?
She ignored him. She went into the living room instead, and they can hear her rummaging.
What is it?
Jack asked again, moving into the living room as Maya picked up the newspaper with shaky hands. She turned it around and showed him the date, April 19th, 2016. Jack shook his head, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. What? He gulped, trying to fill his suddenly dry mouth with spit. What is this?
I don't know.
But she took the paper back into the kitchen and set it on the table.
Hey,
Jack heard Connor say as she went over to the fridge, bumping him at his spot at the stove. Maya didn't stop. She took things from the refrigerator after checking the dates. Mustard, mayo, deli meats, a gallon of milk, and finally took the eggs off the counter that Connor had been putting the cracked shells into.
are you gonna tell us what's going on, or are you just gonna be irritating?
Connor said, planting the eggs and bacon and bringing them to the table. Maya ignored her plate.
You see the date on this, right?
Showing Connor the expiration date on the eggs. Connor slurps up a mouthful of eggs as he looks, but only shrugs.
April 15th, 2016. So what?
Maya sighed and pushed a mayo jar at Lena.
What about this one?
Lena looks over, chewing her bacon.
March 27, 2016. What is this about, Maya?
She hands the meat to Jack, who reads it out through a mouthful of eggs without being asked.
April 18th, 2016? Maya, what are you getting at?
She slams her hands on the table hard enough to make the plates rattle.
All the food in the fridge, even the food you're eating, should have expired a long time ago, yet it hasn't. None of it is older than April 19th either. Why is that?
Who knows? But I still fail to see how this has anything to do with anything.
Lena wobbled her head back and forth as if to say, very strange, but so what? And Maya persisted.
None of the people we've encountered have been in any stage of decomposition. There's no blood, no purpling on the bodies, no bloating, no nothing. That's another thing, too. I can tell you from experience that it doesn't take flies long to find a dead body. Minutes, if not sooner. And I haven't seen a single bug on any of these people. Not a fly or a roach or a maggot or anything.
Maya, I'm trying to eat.
There isn't any sound either.
She said, pushing on so she wasn't sidetracked.
I haven't heard a bug or a bird or anything since we got here.
So what? Isn't that why we all came out here? Didn't we all say that we were tired of the smoke and noise of town? Why are you making such a big deal out of this? We found out that you were once a member of some thrill kill group, and we took it easy enough. So why can't you just chill out?
Maya let out a breath that sounded distinctly growly, but Jack put up a hand.
What are you getting at, Maya?
I don't know how, but I don't think we're in our world anymore.
They sat quietly for a moment, her friends glancing at each other before Connor snorted and went back to eating.
Left Kansas behind, huh, Toto?
I'm being serious. We need to figure out where we are, what's going on, and how much danger we're in.
And how do we do that, Maya? Do we find a twister to step into?
Well, it would stand to reason that if we went back to the graveyard and found the tunnel that took us here, then we could get back to our own place.
Connor had started shaking his head before she was even done talking.
For all we know, your old friends set this up somehow. Maybe they had a little fun on their way to get to you. We are 6 miles from Joppa, and that's where I'm gonna go. You can come with me if you want or not. I don't care.
Connor?
Lena said, looking over at him as he finished up his food. Connor didn't respond. He tossed his dish into the sink, the breaking of angry dishes greeting them, and grabbed his backpack as he got up to leave.
Connor!
Jack said, standing up to block his way.
We need to stick together. I'll admit, this shit is a little weird, but whatever we do, we all need to.
Connor shoved past him as he headed for the door.
No. What's weird is how comfortable you two are just traveling with someone who knows people who tried to kill us. You saw her fighting in the basement. She's no different than they are, and if she decided to, she could cut us to pieces.
Maya wouldn't.
Lena said, but she faltered as Connor turned to look at her.
Oh, because we know so much about her. Because we all trust her so much. Open your eyes, people. Maya is someone we met, what, a year ago? Maybe less? Why are we going along with whatever she wants us to do? How do we know that this just isn't some ruse to get us all alone so that way she can do us in herself?
Maya could feel Jack and Lena looking at her, and her face reddened as she tried to form some sort of argument.
Connor, if I were going to kill you, I would have done it in the tunnel or the basement or at any point along the way here. I don't want that to be my life anymore. I want to be a regular person.
Connor rolled his eyes, pushing the door open as he stepped onto the porch.
Like I said, do what you like. I'm going to Joppa, and I'm going home.
Maya came after him, and the other two following in her wake.
Listen, Connor, listen. Do you hear anything? A car, a bird, a cricket, anything. This place is dead. If you don't want to come back with us, you might never...
But at that moment, a lone noise came to them from about a mile up the road. It was the wild whine of a small motorcycle as it went about its suicidal pace. Connor made a pretentious noise in the back of his throat and then tells the group, "I'll see the rest of you when you come to your senses and make it back to campus. Maya, I'm not sure I want to see you again. Once I get some food in me and a good night's sleep, I might change my mind. But until then, I don't think I want to be around you for a while." He walked into the road and started heading for Joppa.
What about you two?
Maya asked, looking back at them as they stood in the doorway.
Are you going with him?
Lena looked at Jack, but Jack only shrugged at her.
It is weird that the motorcycle is the only noise we've heard since we got here. I've lived around here my whole life, and you can usually hear some sort of animal noise, even in the wintertime.
Yeah. All the dates being wrong is another thing. And Maya's right about the bodies too. There should be bugs by now or some kind of discoloration. It almost feels like we've wandered onto a movie set or something.
Wouldn't that be something? To find out that all this was just a movie we were accidentally in?
So, what do we do?
Jack looked back at Maya, biting his lip as he weighed his options.
If those people knew we were going to be at the cabin, then it's possible they know who we are. If they know who we are, then they may come back after retaliation. Maya seems to be our best bet for surviving, so we should stay with her. So...
he said, smacking his bat into his hand.
If you're going back to the graveyard, then so are we.
Maya smiled. She wasn't used to having friends, and it was heartwarming to have people ready to follow her.
Thank you. I hope I'm wrong or that we've actually wandered onto some kind of movie set because the alternative seems so much worse.
The wind wiped through Derek's hair as he picked up speed. He was cruising along on the borrowed Honda, the miles clipping by as he headed for Joppa. Maya would have headed for the closest town, probably to figure out where she was, and on the bike, he could, hopefully, overtake her and make up for lost time. Darek had been hesitant about going into the holes he found in the ground of the cemetery, but it seemed the only way to get into the caves. The cemetery was old, 100 years or more, and the gates were barred and covered with caution tape. The sign said the ground was unstable due to the deterioration of the caves below, but Darek thought that it might be a little more than that. If the army guys had been with the Foundation, something that he had only heard about but now believed was real, then there was more here than met the eye. He had gone into the cemetery and seen the reason for the signs almost right away. The graves were sinking into the ground, many of them leaning into the earth at odd angles. Tombstones and markers sat cattywampus against the remains of their pushed-up resting places. Darek nearly tripping over the edge of a casket that was sticking up, and if it hadn't been for the moon hanging overhead, he would have been in for a rough time. As it was, he simply had to pick the most likely-looking hole. He took a thick nylon rope out of his small bag and attached it to the lip of one of the holes. He looked at the pinion that he had sunk in to keep it there, hoped it would hold in the crumbly earth, and started descending. He had gone down and down and down, the tunnel growing smaller and wider in stages, and when he came out to find himself in an open grave, he was confused. He had gone down. So how did he find himself back up in the cemetery? He tugged on the rope, but it was still holding on to the spike that he had sunk in at the top. He was still hooked to something, and when he pulled himself out of the hole, he almost expected to see the pin quivering not far away. Instead, he was treated to a less porous graveyard than the one that he had left behind, and the lack of sound languished around him was almost louder than the usual chatter that hung about the night. It was the first thing he noticed when he climbed out of the grave, the lack of noise and the lack of artificial sound. Even out here, you could always count on a truck going by or an airplane coming in to make some sound. It would be more likely that he would hear the chirp of crickets or the call of night birds, but he didn't hear that either. As he made his way through the familiar/unfamiliar graveyard, Darek thought he might have gone down after all. Down, 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 and then to hell, perhaps.
Nonsense,
he told himself as he made his way through the boneyard. If this was hell, then he didn't see what all the fuss was about. He had searched for signs of them and found them. The footprints were numerous, and they headed unerringly through the dirt and to the road. The sign beside the road itself was another sign. It told him that the road was to Joppa, and Joppa seemed like the best place to find them. They would go there so that they could find a way back to their college. He needed to get to them before they got to Joppa. Needed to get to them before they started talking to people. That would facilitate the need for a vehicle. So, Darek began to look. He found the old Honda behind a shed, but it was out of gas. It looked old and worn out, but the grass hadn't grown upward around it yet. He looked for gas and was rewarded with a half a can in an old tool shed. It smelled fine, but it was thick and a little old. He poured it in. He turned the switch, stomped the starter pedal for nearly 10 minutes, and was again rewarded with a belching, angry growl as the bike came to life. Darek smiled. He walked the bike out onto the road and set out on his adventure. Now he was on his way back from Joppa, certain that he had missed them. It was a long walk, but they should be close by now. He had encountered no one on the road, but there was a lot of road between that cemetery and where he was headed. Maybe they stopped to rest at one of the houses that he had passed. He reflected and set off back up the road. Joppa had been a dark and foreboding place. Towns at that time of night are supposed to be dark. but not this dark. There were no streetlights in Joppa, no lights in the apartment buildings on the outskirts, not even the subtle glow of TVs left on or nightlights from kitchens or hallways. It was just black. The moon cut off by the buildings as it slunk between them. There was no apocalyptic horror film. There were no zombies or derelict cars blocking the road. But there was a truck that had struck a building near the gas station that he had passed. It was a milk truck, he thought, and it was sticking out of the side of the hardware store. The driver was dead, but that was no surprise. The surprise was that there were no cops or emergency vehicles. The front of the car was blackened, like it had been on fire that had burned out. The bricks piled up on the hood looked as if they had been there for years, and Darek walked the Honda over to the gas station across the street. It was dark too, and behind one of the pumps, he found a dead person. The man was dressed in a service station uniform, and he was lying on a half-opened garbage bag. The garbage can had clearly cut his face as he fell, and there was a dried stain on the pebbled rocks leading down to the face of the body. The top was off the can and lying on the ground beside it. It appeared that the man had died while changing the garbage, but his arms were still as pink and unblemished as if it had just happened a moment before. Darek pushed his head a little and saw the pool of blood beneath the ripped open cheek. It was jellied and old, and he left him there as he got back on the bike and drove away. What the hell happened here? Darek didn't know, but it had been bad. He had turned back then, realizing that he had beaten them here. After such a walk, they would have been exhausted. He felt sure that if he got into any of the apartments, he would find more dead bodies. He wondered if it had been a sickness or something, but he didn't have time to wonder. Everyone was dead, and he was quite sure of that. But at least one person was alive in here, and he had to find her. He was driving up the road when he saw it. The sign, dark but readable in the moonlight. Spring Gala, April 18th through the 20th. Come and see what grows in our garden. That date seemed important somehow, but he didn't have time to contemplate it. He rode easily up the road, his hood catching the wind as he weaved around the occasional stalled car, and as he came back to the small woods, the trees closing in on them, he saw something that he had missed before. There was a small road heading nearly adjacent to his, and someone was coming up it. He turned his bike in that direction, and when the man looked up, hopeful and glad to have found someone, Darek recognized him. It wasn't the one with the bat, but it was the one who had brandished the fire poker. He lifted a hand as the bike came to rest before him, and Darek was glad that he had remembered to put his hood up.
Thank God. I really was starting to think that everyone might be dead. Have you come from Joppa? Is it dead too?
The headlight made him put a hand up to his eyes, and he must have recognized Darek as he got closer. He took a step back, his smile slipping, but by then, it was much too late. He leapt into the man, bearing him to the ground, and pressed the knife to his throat as his latest conquest began to beg and cry. He shushed him, removing the knife and sliding it over his cheek, almost gently. When he drew it sharply across that cheek, Connor gasped in pain.
Now then, you're going to tell me what I want to know, or I will make what remains of your life terrible and unbearable before I end it.
Please. I just want to...
He cried out again as Darek cut his other cheek, making the two symmetrical.
Where is Maya?
Connor sputtered, not answering, but not out of any sense of rebellion. Darek sighed as he set the tip against the edge of the one wound.
I'm gonna make a smile from wound to wound if you don't tell me what I want to know. So I'll ask you one more time. Where is Maya?
He began to drag the blade slowly, so slowly, toward his chin when Connor spat out exactly what he expected him to say.
The graveyard! The graveyard! She went back to the graveyard! She wanted to find a way out, so she took the others back to the graveyard. That's all I know! I just want to go home!
Darek nodded. Maya had clearly put it together too, and now she was trying to escape. Well, he couldn't let that happen. He had her in the cage now, and if he were going to get her, then it needed to be here.
I told you all I know, so let me...
I never said I'd let you go. Only that I would make it long and terrible if you didn't tell me what I wanted to know.